Welcome to the Will He Kill You safety webinar for women with Scary Ex. Hi, my name is April Hardy. I've been studying intimate partner homicide for 11 years, since mine and my children's lives became in danger from it. At that time, we were going through the court process against my ex-husband for child abuse that was happening when our kids were going for visits to his house. Also during that time, I decided to end a relationship with a boyfriend. Both of those men had many of the red flags that we're going to talk about during this webinar, and both of them presented a risk to our lives. That was the darkest time in my life. But during that time, through my research, I was able to find that not only is intimate partner homicide common, it's also preventable. That research and my personal experience would lead me to write and publish the book In Case I'm Murdered, What You Should Know About Stalking, Domestic Violence, Sexual Abuse, and How to Stay Safe. I wanted to teach women what I knew. That book led me to creating a YouTube channel, which led me to doing weekly stories about women and children that were murdered by intimate partner homicide and trying to teach about the red flags through their experiences. I got really tired of watching women and children be murdered every week, and I wanted to do more. I didn't want to report on the murders. I wanted to prevent them from happening. So I've been on a really long journey to create the Scary Ex Survival System, and this webinar is information from that program. In this webinar, we're going to introduce you to your personal danger warning system, go over 24 intimate partner homicide red flags, talk about some intimate partner homicide facts, read through questions to help you decide whether or not you should stay in your home, identify the most common threat. I'm going to give you a few home safety tips, and then I'll tell you about some other resources that I've been working on. If you stay through the end, I also have a few free gifts for you. I'll get those emailed to you ASAP. So this webinar is for women who have left a romantic relationship sometime in the last 12 months, and they are afraid of that ex. Women who haven't left yet are welcome here, for sure. But this isn't going to teach you about being safe while you're with them, nor is it going to teach you about leaving safely. Both of those are important for you, and you need to have them. But you would benefit from being able to see the intimate partner homicide red flags in this training so that you can know how much danger you might be in. And while I acknowledge that men are victims of intimate partner homicide, rarely, but it happens, and domestic violence, a lot less rarely, my course is for women only. Male victims would actually need a different type of course to be able to meet their unique needs. And mine just isn't equipped to do that. So now that you know a little bit about me and what I do, let's dive into the teaching. Threat assessment. Your intuition is your God-given danger warning system. First, let's look at your intuition. It's why you feel like your life is in danger, and it will continue to be a warning sign about danger in the future. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines it as quick and ready insight, immediate apprehension or cognition, and some other stuff. It basically means that you know something without necessarily understanding why. You just know. It is a cognitive process faster than we can recognize and very different from the logical thinking that we want to rely on. We can actually know when we're in the presence of danger because the human brain is more efficient and invested when we're in danger and our intuition kicks in. Violence expert Gavin DeBecker says that you have the gift of a brilliant internal guardian that stands ready to warn you of hazards and guide you through risky situations. To put that another way, your intuition's sole purpose for existing is to keep you safe. Unfortunately, in abusive situations, we're taught to distrust and ignore our intuition. Can you think of a time when your gut, as we often refer to it, told you something and you ignored it? What was it? The problem is that we don't recognize, listen to, or act on the danger signals that our intuition gives us often enough. Your intuition has been working this whole time, but it's had a couple of things working against it. One, gaslighting, your abuser against you. We were told that what we believed was wrong by someone who wanted to control us. Then we eventually stopped believing in what we thought, felt, and perceived. Gaslighting is psychological manipulation. It sows seeds of doubts into a person, making them question their own memory, perceptions, and sanity. It's done to control you. and it is one of the most effective tools against your intuition. And then on the other hand, you have coping, which is your mind working against you. One of the first responses of rape victims is to want to act like it never happened. They desperately want to go back to life as normal. I've seen it over and over again. Likewise, the fact that your ex could murder you is a pretty extreme situation that we would rather not acknowledge. Who wants to be the woman whose life is in danger by the same man who held her sweetly and told her he loved her? No one. So you ignore reality. Maybe you could go there mentally for a limited amount of time to allow you to get out of that relationship, but you couldn't handle living with it daily for a long time, so you just rationalized, justified, and excused his behavior so that you can recognize them from now on. However, let me introduce you to the messengers of intuition. These are the things that are actually going to speak to you to let you know there's potential danger. 1, nagging feelings. If you have a nagging feeling that your boyfriend is cheating on you and you've tried to dismiss it, but it just won't go away, it's probably your intuition telling you that your heart is in danger. 2, doubt. Now, you can doubt your inability to cook a dish and that doesn't signal any danger. However, if you're in a situation where someone wants you to trust them and you doubt that they have your best interest in mind, that is an indicator of potential danger. Maybe you're in physical danger, maybe your heart is in danger, maybe your reputation is in danger, but your intuition is telling you that something is wrong and you need to listen. 3, dark humor. Your friend jokes about the guy at work who wears the trench coat in the summertime and likes to learn about weapons, secretly being a serial killer. Take notice of him. Humor, especially dark humor, is a messenger of intuition. She is aware of a danger in that guy, but she may not be ready to admit it yet, even to herself. So it comes out in humor instead. 4, wonder. Someone who seems practically perfect for you can make you feel wonder. They're often charming and charismatic. It's like they fit you perfectly. How is it even possible that you two are so in sync? You've likely heard the statement, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Apply that here. If you are in awe and wonder about somebody, you probably aren't seeing the whole picture. Often that is the case for abusive partners. They start out looking really good. 5, hesitation. If someone asks for your number and you would normally give it out to people, but with this person you hesitate, don't feel obligated to give it to them. Your intuition is causing your hesitation. It's aware of something that you might not be. 6, anxiety. Domestic violence victims become skilled at trying to anticipate their abuser's needs, wants, and moods. It's a survival technique. Unfortunately, life doesn't always do what we want. When you know that you're going to have to tell them that the sink is broke or that your child got into trouble in school and you're anxious about how he will react, your anxiety can be a signal that you may be in danger. Persistent thoughts. Although you trusted him implicitly, there was one fact about a friend that bothered you. As far as you knew, he had told you everything about himself, but he kept where he stayed a secret. You tried to dismiss it in your mind, but the thought that it didn't make sense persisted. And when the truth finally came out, that one persistent thought was tied to a network of lies. 8, feeling uneasy. Have you ever felt uneasy around someone or uncomfortable? Maybe you knew exactly why, but maybe you didn't. You couldn't put your finger on it. Whether it was conscious or unconscious, your intuition recognized a potential danger in them. 9, gut feelings. When I got home, my daughter told me that someone from the church had added her on Facebook. I immediately got a gut feeling. I told her to show me who it was, but I already knew. Although there were 100+ people who had watched her get baptized earlier that day, one person came to my mind when she said it. She showed me his picture and I was right. I already knew in my gut that he was dangerous. 10, suspicion. One time in high school, I got into a vehicle with a man I didn't trust. A man who sparked my intuition through anxiety and apprehension on a regular basis. He stopped me to ask where his stepdaughter, my best friend, was. When I told him I didn't know, he insisted that I get in so that we could drive around and look for her together. Huge suspicion. Yet I still got into his vehicle, and I knew the instant that I was inside that I shouldn't be there. He even laughed and asked if I was afraid of him, so we both knew that I was. At my first opportunity, I got out of that vehicle and into another before he was aware of it, and I was trembling as I hid. 11. Curiosity. I've spent a lot of my life feeling broken, like a pariah. Since like tends to attract like, I'm drawn to people who seem to have been through rough things. I want them to know that they're valued and wanted, like I want people to make me feel. That being said, my trauma counselor explained to me that people who have experienced complex trauma, or lots of trauma, exist in a state where we're much closer to the fight or flight response than those who haven't. And what that means to me is that we fly into a rage easily and without warning. People that seem strange or different might pique your curiosity, but keep in the back of your mind that those differences could put you in danger. I think of the 21 Pilots song Heathens. I feel like it shows this concept really well. And 12 is fear. Fear, not to be confused with worry, is the loudest signal of danger of all. I once had a boyfriend who I became terrified of. I remember clearly the day that I contacted a private investigator to find out who he really was. I was so afraid he was going to find out and hurt me that I was actually trembling to the point of almost passing out. What I was experiencing was fear, the loudest signal of danger. My intuition knew that he was very dangerous. How has your intuition tried to warn you about your ex? It's a good practice to write this stuff down so that you can read through it when you're missing him and considering going back. Don't try to rationalize or justify your intuition anymore. Start paying attention to it from this point forward. Give it the credit it deserves. It is your God-given protector. Your win for this section is you have identified ways that your intuition has tried to alert you in the past. Learning intimate partner homicide red flags. Hollywood and even news media would like to glamorize intimate partner homicide as an out-of-nowhere act of passion that a person just can't control. Not only is that reality a hopeless scenario, because if it's out of nowhere and beyond control, then what could we possibly do to stop it? But it's also wrong. In fact, violence expert Gavin de Becker calls intimate partner homicide America's most preventable murder. One of the major ways that we can avoid dying due to intimate partner or an ex is to know the red flags and then be willing to act accordingly. That means that we can't afford to ignore the truth or our intuition in order to be comfortable anymore. So let's go over these red flags. Do you feel like your life might be in danger with him? This is the number one sign that your life is in danger with him. If you feel like it is, you need to trust your intuition because it is. 2, was he abused or did he witness abuse as a child? 3, does he believe that the rules and the laws don't apply to him? 4, does he believe he's smarter or more clever than most people or the law? 5, does he have a criminal record of violence towards people or destruction of property? 6, does he have an addiction to drugs or alcohol? 7, does he use drugs or alcohol to excuse violent behavior? I didn't mean to do that, I was just drunk, yada yada. 8, is he controlling? 9, does he disrespect boundaries, people's or places? 10, does he break things when he gets angry? 11, does he use intimidating behavior when he's angry, like slamming doors or punching walls? 12, is he physically abusive towards you? 13, does he minimize it, tells you it's not as bad as you say it was, etc.? 14, has he been violent towards animals or children? 15, does he use threats to control you? This could be threats to hurt you, your children, pets, or himself. 16, did he want to get together soon, move in soon, get married soon, or have babies really fast? 17, was he violent towards a previous intimate partner? 18, did he say things like, till death do us part, or ride or die in reference to your relationship? 19, did he seem to get a lot of his identity from being with you? 20, has he stalked you, himself or through someone else? 21, does he believe that acts of violence done by other people are justified? 22, Does he blame others for everything? Doesn't want to take responsibility for anything. He may even believe that the world is conspiring against him. 23. Does he refuse to accept rejection? 24. Have you ever made plans in case you were murdered? This can be as elaborate as funeral arrangements or as minor as writing a note. Maybe you took out life insurance. Maybe you wrote a book called In Case I'm Murdered. The point is, the danger was on your radar. Not listening to your intuition and not knowing the red flags to look for in your partner or ex can be fatal. Let's look at intimate partner homicide facts. In 2021, 1,690 women were killed by an intimate partner. And that includes exes, I'm pretty sure, in their statistics. 20% of those intimate partner homicide victims were family members, including children, friends, neighbors, people who tried to intervene, law enforcement, and bystanders. Familicides, when a man murders his wife and kids and then he often kills himself, are the most common form of mass killings. In the 12 months prior to the attack, 76% of female intimate partner homicide victims were stalked, and 85% of female intimate partner homicide attempted, like the victims of an attempted killing, 85% of those were stalked. So, if you feel like you are being stalked, you should consider that a substantial warning sign towards they want to murder you. 54% of the victims reported stalking to the police before they were killed by their stalkers. That is insane. And some people assume that only violent men kill their partners, but only 67% of female intimate partner homicide victims had actually been physically abused by their intimate partner. So let's go back to a couple of those intimate partner homicide red flags really quick and just talk about that for a second. People have this assumption that in order for somebody to murder, they've been violent in the past, and that's not actually true. Like a lot of them, it is true about, but there's sort of two sections here. One of them has been violent, has shown that they're violent, will probably kill you in violence. The other one, though, is more sly and more under the radar. So for this type, what you're looking for is the controlling. If there's an element of control in the relationship, that would be a factor. But also, like, does he seem to get a lot of his identity from being with you? It's almost like he came alive when you guys got together, or he really, really, really values being somebody's boyfriend or being somebody's husband or being your kid's dad. Like, that is where it's at for him. That can be scary. This person could have also done the getting married quickly, having babies quickly thing. This person may have done the ride or die till death do us part stuff. This person also is going to have a difficult time with rejection. But the point is, this person, so there's the violent type, and then there's the type that they put so much of who they are into you and into the relationship, and maybe if you guys have children, into the children, that the idea of you taking them from him, taking that identity from him, is worse to him than death itself. And so then you get those, there was no violence in the relationship before, but you tried to leave. He is not okay with that type of rejection. It feels like he's losing himself. And so then a lot of those end up in murder-suicides. Doesn't have to have had any violence before. So keep that in mind. That is a significant thing to be aware of too. Leaving an abuser and 12 months after leaving are the most dangerous times when it comes to intimate partner homicide. Based on your intuition and the red flags that we discussed, do you still believe that your life is in danger from your ex? Why or why not? You can tell me in the comments if you want to. You can email me at staff@aprilhardy.com, or you can just know this for yourself, but there is your answer. Don't try to justify it. Don't try to rationalize it. Just raw. What does your gut tell you? With validation, You now know why you're afraid for your life, and you have facts to back it up. People can't tell you anymore that you're overreacting or you're overthinking this. You know. Should I stay or should I go? I'm happy to talk through this with you, but I can't give you a specific formula to answer this. I haven't found one yet. What I can tell you is that I believe that generally it's safer to move away as quickly and as quietly as possible. I can also tell you that I didn't move at first. I did look into it. I even toured some houses, but at the end of the day, I decided that I love and trust my landlord. I couldn't afford a lot. My neighbors knew me and knew my situation, and they were ready and willing to call the police for me if I needed them to. And I lived on a busy corner lot, so if he was going to do something, either of them, it would have been difficult to hide. I also knew that there was a possibility that I would move somewhere else that wasn't on a main road, where I didn't have relationships established with my neighbors, and I would find myself in more danger there. It was terrifying because I knew that either way I could be wrong. Ultimately, I don't know that there's a surefire answer to this. I've seen cases where women move across the country and their exes follow them and kill them anyway, and I have been able to live where I lived and not die, but many women have not been so fortunate. You know your situation and your ex the best. Ultimately, you have to make that call. What I do know is that without taking an honest look at your situation and planning accordingly, you're letting your ex have all the power. I do want to note that although we ended up living where we lived, we didn't always stay there. I made decisions to stay somewhere else several times when I was concerned that the threat was particularly high. Staying elsewhere included leaving the city more than once and staying somewhere but parking my car blocks away so that they couldn't find us. We didn't stay with people that they knew either. We were in hiding. I also want to let you know that I live where I do now, but as the time gets closer for my ex-husband to get out of prison, I will reevaluate this again. I can't tell you with any certainty that it's ever totally safe. Sometimes they move on after they find someone else to fixate on, but other times I've seen men come back and kill their exes years after their relationship ended. Determine if staying at home is the right thing to do. Let's go through the questions together. Then we'll put the power to make this major life choice back into your hands. Hopefully this will be one of many steps where you will take back the power in your life. Does the perpetrator know where you live? Does he know the layout of your home? If you have one or more dogs, do they know your ex? If you do have pets, is there a foster care program for pets where you live, or do you know somebody who could care for them for a little while you're figuring out your next moves? Do you have neighbors who will watch your home for you and call the police if they see him? Are you willing to tell your neighbors what's going on and ask them for help? Do you live on a busy street where people would see someone snooping around, or do you live somewhere where people might not notice? Do you live in a small town where everyone could identify them, or in a big city where people might not notice at all? Is your local law enforcement willing to do drive-bys past your house to check on you? Have you let your local law enforcement know about the situation and that you believe that he's a threat to your life? Do you have some kind of protection or stay-away order in place? Has your employer issued him a stay-away order? Do you go to work using the same route on a regular schedule? That's a more dangerous situation than a job that has you traveling around. Do you have somewhere to go and stay that he doesn't know about on what I call red flag nights? Do you have deadbolts on your doors? Do you live in a gated community or a locked community? Is there security where you live? If so, would you be willing to tell them about your situation? Is there security at your job, church, or other places you routinely go? Are you willing to tell them about your situation? Do you or your kids have health issues that require special equipment or accommodation? C.R. Jan said, "You are more likely to be attacked or killed in your home by someone that you know. The vast majority of the time it's a boyfriend, domestic partner, or roommate. Sometimes it's a date or a friend of a friend who initially seemed harmless. Take a close look at those that you allow into your home, especially those you choose to become intimate with, as an abuser is far more of a threat to you than a random criminal." I'll go more in depth about home safety in the Safety School webinar training that I'll tell you about in a little bit. For right now, know that if your life is in danger, you need to secure your windows and your doors. At the very least, get deadbolt locks for your doors and lock them all the time, and alarm your windows so that if someone opens them, you'll hear it. Be aware that screens can be slit open with a knife or popped out, so they provide no security. Also, window air conditioners can be pushed through a window with little effort, so they provide no security. Exterior motion lights and alarms are helpful too. Also, you want to create a plan, or several. Just like fire escape plans are important, home intruder plans are important too. Make sure that your children know that their job is to stay safe, not to protect you, especially if they're young and couldn't protect you anyway. If you're concerned about a potential home intruder that they might know, like their father, it's important to discuss this with them. For example, I know he's your father, but if he comes into our house in the middle of the night, he is here for no other reason than to hurt us. He is not your father in that moment. Do not go to him. Follow the plan. And, unfortunately, if a situation like that is possible, you need to also discuss how the person might seek to use you against one another for power and control. For example, he grabs a child and threatens to harm them if you don't come out, or the other way around. How should your kids handle that? How would you handle that? That concludes this part of this webinar. I've got 3 action steps for you. 1, determine whether or not staying in your home is a good plan right now. 2, determine whether or not you have the minimum safety items in place, like deadbolts on your exterior doors and alarms on your windows. And if you don't, get them if staying at your home is what you choose to do. And 3, create a home safety plan. I told you that I was going to email you some gifts as well. So one of them is going to be the Intimate Partner Homicide red flags list that we went through. One of them will be the should I stay or should I go assessment. One is going to be a basic go bag packing list. And one will be an outline for a safety plan. When, after taking this training, you can now validate your concerns about your partner or your ex-partner being dangerous. You've considered the vitally important questions about whether to stay in your home or not, and you have a few home safety tips. You can and should now be able to create a basic safety plan. Now you have an idea of how my students are able to determine if their life is in danger by their ex. I wanted to make this information free and available to every woman who's concerned about a romantic partner or an ex. Through the Scary Ex Survival System, I want to help recently single women who are afraid of their ex go from lying in bed at night, waiting to be murdered, to knowing how to get safe and how to build a life that is characterized by love, safety, hope, and freedom instead of death, or a life that's full of crisis, exhaustion, and fear. The next step that I would take women through is called Safety School. In it, they learn how to secure your home to better protect yourself and your kids, how to make yourself a difficult target, online safety, changing your mindset, and preparing for a fight. I believe the Safety School webinar is good information that every woman should have. If you're interested in going through just the Safety School portion, you can register on our website. The full course includes lifetime access to lessons on all of the topics that are on the screen, teaching you what you need to know to make informed decisions for yourself, as well as coming alongside you with weekly coaching calls and a private Facebook group of other women who are at different points in the same journey as you, because the world at large may not understand, but we do. And the full program is not for everyone. There are a lot of people out there who believe that everything for domestic violence victims should be free. And as a survivor myself, I've found that free really isn't free. The cost often comes in crappy care, restricted access, and limited help. There are many free resources available to victims of domestic violence. However, I have found that victims have to do this walk of shame going in and asking for help, which leads many women, especially women of middle and upper classes or women that are considered more educated, to not reach out for help at all because they feel like I shouldn't be in this situation and there's shame involved in that. Or they deal with domestic violence, like all aspects of it, and not intimate partner homicide specifically. And because they're free, they're often at max capacity or stretched thin, limiting the good that they're able to do to a really surface level at best. And they're limited to physical locations, operating hours, and manpower. By contrast, the Scary Ex Survival System is totally confidential. It's online, so victims don't have to walk in anywhere. There's no shame, and it hopefully will be really helpful to those outlying women that don't go to the other places for help. 2, it's specifically and entirely committed to getting you safe from an intimate partner homicide threat to the best of our ability. 3, because we're not free, we will have the resources to be able to go deep with and walk with each woman that enters our program to affect real change. And 4, because we're online, the program is accessible anytime from anywhere that there's an internet connection. It's not limited by my manpower, as the teachings will be recorded. But whether you want to get into the full Scary X survival system or you just want the Safety School webinar, it's my goal to give you quality help that is well worth your investment. I really did build these things with you in mind and with what I needed at the time in mind, what I wish would have been there. Are you ready to take the next step towards freedom and safety? Let me know in the chat or send me an email and we'll get you registered. If your budget is free, there are lots of helpful resources at thehotline.org. I consider them a great resource. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will be praying for all of you.